Hi, Gillian.
Welcome, members, friends of SAIAshare, especially those who are attending for the first time. My name is Gillian Oddendorf. I'm the Vice Chair of the SAIA Practice Committee and Practice Architecture in what we currently call Port Elizabeth still, for those of us that can't get Quebec right. Eugene Barnard and I will be hosting this afternoon. Eugene normally has this job and does it all himself, but today I will be assisting him. SAIAshare is an initiative of the SAIA Practice Committee, and it is intended to inform and motivate members and all persons who love architecture. SAIAshare is held on the first Friday of every month. And thanks to Karina Gibson from ECPD for guiding us through the processes and the background to this. There's a little bit more information this time than usual with the CPD online. Also, we'd like to meet Angela Pillay from Juravet, who is our kind sponsor and who supplied those lovely videos in the beginning. So today we have two exciting programs lined up for us this afternoon. And in the second session, we're going to have Johnny Lemmer, who will be sharing the magnificence of our diverse natural landscape. This is her source of joy. She's currently immersed in the Lowveld beauty. She's an associate of Orbic Architects, where she started working in 2014 and is part of a thriving architectural practice. But first, in session one, we would like to meet Heather Dodd. Heather will share with us on the subject, repurpose from shopping mall to town centre. Heather needs little introduction. She's a partner in the well-known architectural practice, Savage and Dodd Architects in Johannesburg. They're passionate about the power of design to restore spatial justice and urban resilience. Their work spans both in the public realm, from universities to social housing. Savage and Dodd Architects has been the recipient of several design awards in South Africa. And so, with this very short introduction, over to Heather to share this very exciting presentation she has for us. Thank you, Heather.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm just setting up my screen. Can you hear me?
Yes, Heather, thank you.
Okay. Thanks very much. Thank you for the opportunity of presenting today. I thought I would take the opportunity of being asked to present something to use it to sort of trial a presentation that I'm busy working with or on for World Architecture Festival, which was supposed to be held in Lisbon in December, but we only heard 2 days ago that it's actually going to be held online, sadly. Okay, so I'll be presenting this project, and I thought it was a nice opportunity to look at the work itself, but also to kind of maybe chat about awards and presentations and you know, the nature of this in relation to the awards programs here, for example. So this World Architecture Festival is held annually, and it's a global event. It sort of rotates from place to place over sort of 2 to 3 year cycles. We've been lucky enough to attend several different venues, Berlin being the first one that we attended. So it's a 2-stage competition, and the first stage is a 2 A2 boards of that you submit digitally, and this has to be sort of a critical piece of legible storytelling that really I mean, its entire aim is to get you from one pile to another pile, getting you onto the shortlist. And we found that it's, you know, in trying to actually work out what that story is of the project and actually thinking and then communicating what the project is actually about, a very useful tool. So in this case, the project that I'm going to present to you is a project of a shopping center that we had a look at during 2019. And it was about repurposing the infrastructure of that shopping center into something else. So those were our two boards, which talked about the context, the location, and the key moves, the key design moves that we made. I just thought I would just tell you a little bit about World Architecture Festival. So we are now, with that project, we've entered the commercial mixed-use future projects category, and we are shortlisted, and these are our fellow competitors. So quite some interesting competition from Sui Fujimoto to Alfred Hall, Moning & Morris, very well-known London practice, Benoy, very big Asian practice, Ingehoven, etc. So pretty stiff competition. So World Architecture Festival is really like a big marketplace. It's set up like that. You have all these pods, and each one of these is a category, and you give your presentation. It's a 10-minute presentation to a jury of 3 judges that come from sort of all over the globe. They then adjudicate your and give one category winner, sometimes a commendation, and the category winners then go and compete on the Friday in a sort of a super with a super jury. On the super jury are usually some pretty well-known architects, people like Jean Gang or Elizabeth Diller, for example. And we've been pretty successful so far. We entered in 2017, and it was in Berlin. We entered our Solplaatje University, that's in Kimberley, and we were finalists in the higher education and research and the best use of color categories. And we came away from that with a highly commended in the higher education and research category. And we were competing against projects at major universities globally, from Denmark, the UK, China, and the USA, including Duke University, which is by Grimshaw. And the winner of the category was Moller Architects in Copenhagen, Denmark. We then the next year entered a project into the future categories category, future competition category, and we were really, really amazed to actually win a WAFEX award, which was, we were the Power and Justice Award winner for 2018. And then in the actual category, you can see these were the entries, and we were really, we were running here head to head, I think with Jean Gang, who entered Tower Montparnasse in Paris. In this particular category, very hard to know what would win, because they, being a competition category, just such different projects. But great to see our name up on the board, and yeah, it was a really great experience. So this year we've entered Balfour Mall, and this is our presentation. So usually this is a 10-minute presentation, quite strictly a 10-minute presentation. So I've never run it before, and we'll see how it goes. So this project is the repurposing of a suburban shopping mall into a multifunctional precinct, which considers the infrastructure of the mall as a physical heart of a redefined town centre, a piece of social infrastructure which is re-engaged into the public realm. When the client approached us to look at an underperforming shopping mall, there were some immediate things that struck us. One, in the absence of safe, secure, accessible urban spaces in Johannesburg, people congregate at shopping centres to socialise. The future of shopping malls in an online world is dependent on differentiating and highlighting this public function. But Balfour Mall does not offer significant leisure offering to its shoppers. Two, disconnection. This monofunctional mall created for the middle-class shopper was now an island surrounded by dead parking space, bypassed by pedestrians and failing to capture new markets. But the first thing we noticed was location. Sitting at the intersection of a major north-south arterial route linking the inner city with the Sandton Alexandra node and an east-west route, the locational opportunities seem obvious. The locational opportunity had been recognized by the city in terms of the catalytic intervention of a new bus rapid transit stop and the recognition of additional development rights along this corridor in terms of the corridors and inclusionary housing. Extremely well located with 3 schools in close proximity, yet this was an underperforming asset within their portfolio. So despite its location, it was disconnected from its urban surroundings. The client had acquired the neighbouring shopping centre and a vacant site, consolidating a significant opportunity. Yet despite this, we noticed that people walked through the parking area and accessed cheap food from informal traders. The large parking deck was a natural heart of the centre. Could this be repurposed or rethought of as a public square? Could the mall be repurposed to engage multiple market sectors, maintaining its commercial heart and adding key functional components to integrate itself into a greater public realm, being a town centre? The shopping centre had good bones, a legible circulation spine, but successive additions had eroded this. Could it be repurposed, maintaining its commercial heart and adding key functional components to integrate itself into the greater public realm, being a town centre? The key was to reconnect the street of the mall to the street itself. So here you can see the legibility of the internal street, but people prefer to access the informal street. The food court, which is disconnected in the inside of the shopping centre. The roof parking deck. And it interestingly had a very small component on the roof of football, five-a-side football, which was very, very interesting, but not enough scale. And this was a great kind of first generator of this space as a public space. So what were our moves? We considered the parking deck as an urban space. Link the internal mall, link to the internal circulation street, maintain the commercial anchors, disconnected from the public realm, street and pedestrian exit, reconnect a new entrance plaza and connecting infrastructure, the possibilities for inserting new connected infrastructure and new commercial pieces, and adding housing. The whole piece together. So the important things being the public square and the edge conditions. So reconnecting the centre through a new civic entrance plaza linked to a route that took you into the centre that could be inhabited by a range of activities, and we need to find another word for informal traders because it's not necessarily informal. A new roof pedestrian entrance sequence links the mall entrances to a public arrival plaza, incorporating small-scale traders, market stalls, links the mall to the street. Repurpose the parking deck as a multi-purpose outdoor sports facility using modified shipping containers and netting. A Highline promenade links the shopping mall to the new housing areas as a structured civic intervention. The mall opens onto the space with the existing gym being made visible to the outside. Creating a new open space network enables people to promenade, socialize, or complete a run within a secure environment. Open the mall onto the roof and locate the food court on this level. The food court is considered as an open rooftop plaza, edged with restaurants and fast food offerings. The roof deck is still accessible to cars, allowing for drive-through fast food pickups. So it combines a small-scale high street drive and pickup into the mall typology. Ground level parking area as multifunctional space. During the week, minibus taxis can rank with services, the petrol station and tire fitment outlet. And weekends, this area can also be used as a temporary event space with projection screen on the parking deck facade for driving movies. And the promenade is part of the connected infrastructure that allows social connectivity. A Highline promenade links the shopping mall to the new housing area as a structured civic intervention. Using the infrastructure of the shopping mall, parking on a counter-cyclical basis allows a radically different vision of urban housing, one that is embedded in a public open space network with private courtyards. That is a pedestrian neighborhood at ground level with all the amenities of living in a town center, safe, secure, multifunctional, mixed-use environment. The housing is presented as a model rather than a complete design, allowing flexibility to manipulate the outcomes in relation to the overall vision of a complete development. It incorporates inclusionary housing units within the 820 units, providing well-located, affordable housing opportunities. This is the transformational aspect of the scheme, the consideration of a holistic vision of a town centre. But in 2020, what happens next? We premised our idea on shopping malls, the shopping mall's continued life being linked to a social infrastructure. And so we questioned whether our scheme was robust enough with social distancing and crowds being an anathema to virus containment. And we looked at what had in our current context that changed. And obviously the overseas context that's been broken by e-commerce and COVID. So would this destroy the concept? COVID not only shut down malls for a prolonged period, but when they were allowed to open, it was with a set of peculiarly stringent regulations. Could all of these be integrated into the physical infrastructure of the mall? South Africa doesn't yet have the penetration of e-commerce, particularly into low and middle class income households. There is still a big digital divide, but perhaps this is even more of an argument to pivot towards leisure-led social infrastructure that supports an experience. The civil unrest and organised insurrection in parts of South Africa saw malls and distribution centres being targeted. And SAPOA estimated the following damage: 161 malls suffered extensive damage, which led to some questioning on social media what the role of shopping centres play within communities. Are they predatory or community assets? Are they integrated within their communities, or do they perpetuate spatial and social segregation? Our answer is that the reconnecting of this underutilized infrastructure into the urban realm in an inclusionary manner would lead to its integration as a social asset, functioning as part of the city and not separate from it. Thank you. So yeah, that's my presentation. I think we could probably chat about it. So that's what I think needs a little bit more honing, but that's what I'll be presenting in December.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That was lovely, Heather. I think the one thing we are really very happy is that you shared that with us, and that is your submission to the World Architecture Forum. And I think we're getting a highlight of what you're going to be showing there. Just a question, and I think we'd like to ask everybody to please, if they have, put any questions in the question box so that we can ask it and get an answer from Heather. But I think, Heather, the first question that I might ask you is, the interesting concept about this is the potential for change. And what you are offering is flexibility for the future, depending on where the digital divide ceases to be and depending on what changes in the future. Potentially, what you are offering the client is a development that can adapt and change continuously according to the way the future goes, because of the initial concepts that you've actually laid down. And I think maybe if you could comment on that.
Thanks, Gillian. Yes, I think that's quite right, because shopping centres have been seen as quite monofunctional elements, and obviously in even in the past 10 years, you've seen shopping centres being redeveloped in places like the States as often as schools. But you know, they do represent vast areas of real estate, and they are very deep space buildings for the most part. So they're not that easy to change. So I mean, the great thing about this particular one is everything around it that actually allows it to be something else. And I think the critical thing is to understand that, and actually the client doesn't really understand this, is that they're not mutually exclusive. So you can't say, actually, at the moment, the housing development is the most lucrative, let's just do that, or sell that piece off, or get somebody else to do it and just build it next door. It's got to be completely integrated into that. And the key is sharing resources, particularly parking, which is a killer for spatial transformation, actually, because it just makes a lot of dead space. It's kind of needed, but it's a very problematic thing, and it's going to be even more and more problematic when we actually start considering the kind of the carbon impact of that. So yes, you know, that adaptability and change is all to do with integration and holistic view.
Great, thank you. Eugene, do you have something you'd like to ask?
Yes, no, thank you. I've actually got many comments. Heather, thank you for that. It was lovely. But maybe let's just first acknowledge Debbie Wintermeyer, who's asked just what the current status of the project is. Maybe you can tell us where you stand with the project.
Yeah, well, actually, I mean, I'm not actually quite sure. I mean, we've done all the work on it. Unfortunately, we are not seen as shopping centre specialists. So whilst we were brought on by the developer to look at a housing opportunity, and then subsequently when we looked at that, they said, look at it holistically. And when we did, then they said, oh, but you're not shopping centre specialists, so we don't think we can go back to our board and actually get you to do it. So, you know, we like your ideas, but we're not quite sure what you're actually saying. So, and then I think they've been completely distracted now by the events of both COVID and KZN, where they're just trying to actually figure out what they're doing. So I don't know if there's any life in the project for us. Not at the moment, not. But you know, for us, for instance, doing it like this for World Architecture Festival is a chance of making the project for us, working for us. So all of the drawings that we've done for for instance, these we've repurposed. We've actually redone them. So to talk our narrative. So we're trying to make the project, if it's not going to work as a project, as a real project, which obviously would be first prize, then second prize, it works for us.
Right. No, what Heather, it's, if I may make a comment about your drawings, we see so many 3D photorealistic renderings, and your sketches were delightful. I wonder who the author is of those sketches, but really compliments to the artist.
Well, they're Colin Savage's drawings, and he's kind of a masterful person at doing that. So it's about him doing that and setting a strategic direction for what we want to illustrate. But it's key as well, because I think that we very specifically on this project said that we don't want to present renderings. Firstly, we're not great at renderings, so we're just going to present like fairly ordinary renderings. And we want to differentiate ourselves. So it's got a different presentation mode from the kind of from a lot of other companies that might do renderings. Yeah, I mean, I think there is in some cases a trend towards hand presentations. I have seen some presentations by some UK practices that do it.
Heather, yeah, just to make a comment on that as well, I think what I found very interesting about those drawings and the way they're presented is it almost captures the spirit of the South African culture, because we have a great sense of humor, and compared to some of the other countries around the world, and we have a lot more color in our life. And that's what I found really impressive, is the fact that in those renders and in the presentations, it felt like it was South Africa. It felt like it had the context, the culture, the happiness, and all the positivity of what we want to embrace as South Africa. So I think that's really very positive, and I'm so pleased we can showcase something like that internationally. So well done. That looks really wonderful. Thank you. Do we have any more questions from our attendees?
Gillian, we don't, but allow me to ask Heather another question, or just to comment on a statement, Heather. You've been participating in the World Architecture Festival now for what's it, 3-4 years, and I'm sure that gives you a very international and competitive perspective on the work you're doing. Have you, first of all, come across other South African practices that also participate? And what would your message be to those watching this presentation as far as participation is concerned?
Yeah, that's an important question, Eugene. So look, I mean, there are some South African practices that have done, and I think the South African practices that have participated have done actually very well. I mean, I think Kate Otten in 2019 also got a commendation. We've had a commendation. Myself, Bob van Beber from Boegtman, and Nadia Tromp have been judges for the last couple of years. Corin Smuts has been on one of the super juries for a few years. So I think we've got a little bit of a footprint, but a very small footprint. And you know, Africa as a whole is very, very underrepresented. I mean, I think in 2017, I counted 13 projects from Africa. I think it's even less this year. It's quite expensive to participate. especially with the, you know, you're paying in euros. So it's actually a bit crippling. And that's, you know, something that's very problematic, especially now. So, you know, from our perspective, I mean, we decided last year to submit because we want to build on what we've already done, because we've got a bit of a presence, so we want to continue with that. But you know, I mean, I know World Architecture Festival is very, very keen to start regional based competitions. They're very, very keen. I know that they've had discussions with, I don't know if it was with the Institute, but to do an Africa or Sub-Saharan Africa in South Africa. Last year during COVID, they ran a WAF China as an online. It was absolutely amazing. I was on the super jury on that. It was just astounding to see the work coming out of China. Stuff that you just really didn't believe was, I mean, you know, everything, all your kind of preconceptions were really changed actually when you saw the work coming out. So you can already see how dominant China is becoming. It's now, I mean, in my category, like I think nearly half of the finalists are from China. And also to say that, you know, the institutes in, for instance, New Zealand and in Australia really use World Architecture to promote themselves as architects and the value of design. And as soon as that shortlist is out on the zine, out on what's the other big Arc Daily, you know, as soon as they're released on those two platforms, the Institute in Australia, RAA, is putting out press releases saying these are our Australian architects. This is, you know, these are the projects. This is the design. So, you know, they really use it. We don't capture, we don't use those, and it's very hard to capture those opportunities. And so I think we could do more in that respect, because we've done, you know, we've done well. In fact, Nadia Trump in 2017, was it 2017, 2018? Yeah, 2017, when we went to Berlin, she got through to the finals with one of her buildings, and you know, nobody here said very much about that. So no, we need to capitalize on these things.
Great. Heather, yeah. Sorry, Julia.
Yeah, I think also the other thing is that when they run those online, when their conference runs, there are some incredibly interesting speakers, and with the ability to be able to connect online now so easily, it's really wonderful to listen to them, and you can go back and listen to them retrospectively. So I think actually as SAIA we should really look at this and see what we can do to help our architects who are actually involved there. Heather, thank you very much. It was wonderful.
I just wanted to add to that. So yes, last year, as a run-up to WAF, they did have a virtual platform, and it was for free. And you know, there are some brilliant talks that you can access. So, and that's for free. So it's not like you have to fly anywhere or pay anything.
Right. Okay. Well, Heather, thank you. You put Balfour more on the shall I say? You've highlighted that. You've given us some lovely sketches, and you've reminded us of the need to change our approach to shopping centres, shopping mall designs. Thank you for that, and thank you for telling us about the WAF. And so we now are going to give our sponsors, Duravit, an opportunity, just a short opportunity. Please stay online as we watch what they've got to offer, and then we will launch into the second presentation for the day. Thank you. Corina?
Yandri, just test your mic for me quickly.
Bonjour, mon nom est Philippe Stark. Je suis un explorateur de la vie, de nos vies. Je ne connais pas grand-chose parce que plus ou moins seul. Pourquoi? Parce que j'y suis seul. Seul pour réfléchir tranquille. Seul pour être sûr de pouvoir essayer d'avoir une idée originale, une idée personnelle. Donc voilà, ça c'est mon métier. Travailler avec du Ravit, c'est travailler avec la rigueur. Travailler à très long terme. Travailler pour la durabilité, pour la longévité, pour l'héritage. Ce sera le parfait dessin, sera la parfaite qualité. On cherche surtout à faire un bon produit. On ne cherche pas forcément à faire un beau produit, mais ce produit sera beau s'il est bon pour nous, s'il est bon pour vivre et s'il rend notre vie meilleure, notre vision, notre intelligence. Pourquoi la collection White Tulip? Le dessin est tulipé et il est blanc. Depuis toujours, j'ai dessiné des créations avec du Ravit, toujours extrêmement minimalistes. Mais au bout d'un moment, je me suis aperçu que cette perfection manquait peut-être d'un paramètre. Une sorte de sentiment, une sorte de nostalgie un peu positive, une sorte d'inscription dans le temps. J'ai voulu l'inscrire un petit peu dans le temps de la vie humaine. C'est-à-dire qu'au lieu de faire des collections totalement intemporelles, c'est-à-dire que les formes sont plus souples, on ne peut pas vraiment savoir. C'est un modèle ancien qui aurait été moderne. Un modèle moderne, mais qui a de la mémoire. On a choisi nature et culture parce que c'est un peu l'essence de du Ravit. C'est-à-dire que c'est des objets fabriqués avec une matière naturelle. La nature nous apporte la fraîcheur, l'honnêteté, la vérité, l'évidence. La culture, c'est notre rapport avec cet objet. White Tulip, Tulipe Blanche, est une collection à part et qui en fait manquait. Finalement, le secret de White Tulip, c'est que c'est un objet très luxueux, très sophistiqué, très juste en ergonomie. Mais avant tout, c'est un objet affectueux. C'est ça la différence. Maintenant, nous pouvons avoir de la tendresse. C'est pas mal, non?
Right, welcome back. Angelique from Duravit. I didn't realize that Duravit was such an old company. I Googled and I understand that it was established in 1817 already, making earthenware, and apparently early in the 1900s, you started making your sanitary fittings and fixtures. So it's you know how to do it. Lovely designs. Thank you for that. Right, now we move on to our second presentation for the afternoon. I'm going to just confirm the introduction to Janri Lemmer. You've met her briefly at the start. Janri completed her master's degree in architecture at the University of Free State. She made a transition from a very small town on the banks of the Orange River, if I'm not mistaken, a town called Douglas in the Northern Cape. And then she studied at the University of the Free State. And then she moved to Mbombela in Mpumalanga, a town we know as Nelspruit, or used to be called Nelspruit. And for those who've been there before know that Nelspruit has got some beautiful natural landscape and some excellent weather. I must say, I wonder whether they ever wear long sleeves in Nelspruit. She was going to stay there just for a short while. It was a temporary move. And now, 7 years later, she's still there. And it was the natural beauty of the region that attracted her, amongst others. There might be other reasons for your stay. From mountainous ranges to natural bushveld, the area provided Janri with an ideal environment in which to practice architecture, which she does with passion. She, as we said earlier, is an associate with the practice Orbic Architects, and Janri is going to share her passion with us, the natural beauty of the environment in which we work. So, Janri, over to you, and enjoy Janri's presentation.
Just a quick note, Janri had a gremlin in her laptop, so her sound is not working. I've got her on the phone. I just want to do a test with everybody. So Janri, if you can introduce yourself, if everybody can just let me know if you can hear her loud and clear.
Okay. Hello everyone. As you've heard, I've got a gremlin. Just want to check if everyone can hear me.
Okay, Eugene says it is correct. So if everybody can, all the audience, the attendees also hear Janri loud and clear, if you can just let me know in the chat box, and then Janri will start. Okay, it's a little soft, so I will increase my mic, and then Janri, if you can just talk as loud as you can.
I will talk like I talk to my grandmother.
Good idea.
Okay.
Okay, Jono sê gooi bokkie hoor. Okay, over to you.
All right. Okay. Hi everyone. Thank you all for offering up your Friday afternoon for us. So everyone knows the past 2 years for South Africa has been a bit rough. Not only are we dealing with the effects and after effects of a pandemic, but our country has been littered with corruption, unrest, uncertainty, and negativity. It seems like every family has a member that lives abroad these days. Given all the turmoil, yet some of us decide to stick it out for the best. Our hearts belong to Africa, and we are deeply rooted within her. We stay here for our people, for our sun, our mountains, and grasslands. While I'm speaking, a few typical South African scenes will flick past. Life just seems light as a feather the moment you sit with a glass of wine somewhere looking at the sunset, or sitting around a campfire in the bush somewhere. This is where we experience a sense of tranquility, and get a sense of scale perspective that only the natural world around us can give you. Speaking as someone who grew up in a small town in the Northern Cape that up till today doesn't have a single traffic light, I know what it means when people say that it seems that time is standing still in a small town or natural landscape. Cities tend to make me feel agitated, and I feel that time is constantly running away. There's a different sense of time in the natural landscape. Natural surroundings gives us the opportunity to breathe, to experience freedom and serenity. We are so privileged to have a country that is rich with natural landscape jewels, stretching from our wonderful coastlines, of which we have east, south, and west, moving inland to breathtaking gorges and cliffs, forests, mountain ranges, desert landscapes, grass plains, rivers and waterfalls, hilltops and bush landscapes. Not even to mention our incredible diverse fauna and flora that goes with these natural topographies. Even though most of us live in urban environments, we've all had the opportunity to travel to another part of our country for family visits, work, or just to enjoy a holiday away. Some are privileged enough to be permanently situated within these natural wonders. This ability to experience the feeling of timelessness, being able to let us steam or breathe properly, is such an incredible gift that is always available to us to explore within our own country. We might not realize it, but the natural environment is so inherently part of us and has shaped us in many ways that we might not be aware of. It was not only when I had to prepare for this talk, when it came to light that the natural environment has always been an underlying passion throughout my architectural explorations, but in grade 3 or 4, we had a school concert, and I still sing terribly. I think I'm a bit better dancer, but I was one of 4 girls that were the ocean, and we were very proud of being the ocean, so I think that stuck as well. In my 3rd year in varsity, I did a project proposal as a reminder about the diversity of our landscapes to expatriates abroad in the form of a walkway featuring different materials that would resemble South African landscapes. Materials can assume sensuous and poetic quality if one can find a meaningful situation to evoke its presence. The design process began with the mental perception of materials and space, the essence of which can bring life in architecture. Every material possesses a particular memory in light of its context and can be perceived in a certain way. Unsurprisingly, my thesis project was also located in a natural landscape. The vast Northern Cape Plains lend itself to great solar power projects. Architecture in the form of a visitor center seemed to be the solution to a great sense of meaningful place for man within this great scale of the technological field surrounded by the sublime natural landscape. The exposure of the observer within an overwhelming context, such as the technological field and seemingly endless natural landscape, is too overpowering for the mind to comprehend, leaving the observer to experience the pleasure of being overwhelmed. So many South African landscapes have provided observers with that feeling of being in awe at what lies in front of you and experience the feeling of being overwhelmed. The conceptual framework in this landscape touched on the following subjects: place in space, scale, the sublime, imagination, embodiment, and beauty. These subjects all relate to the human or architectural connection within the natural landscape. Architecture is the signature of humankind on the landscape, the artificial element that has always been connected to the natural environment. It provides man with a sense of identification and orientation. The building took the shape of a mirage on the horizon. On the horizon, kom Afrikaans deur, round earth walls blend in seamlessly with the natural topography and adds to the floating effect of the roofs. The relationship of man to nature and of architecture to the landscape is continuously renewed. An architecture built within the natural landscape represents a certain kind of poetic exploration, as well as a renewed perspective on the human scale. There are so many natural features that we have available to guide our designs and adapt to our environment to allow nature to be an integral part of our buildings. Working with the natural environment in terms of topography, climate, natural materials, and resources are typical of the vernacular architectural tradition. If we take a look at the climatic zoning of our country, it gives us a clear indication of the diverse opportunities the natural South African landscape has to offer us in terms of architectural explorations. Every piece of architecture anywhere requires a site. Given our diverse array of natural topographies in South Africa, nature provides us as architects with so many opportunities to become creative in our field. We can't compare a building designed for the Kalahari with one overlooking the Knysna Lagoon, for instance. In order to create meaningful place with a sense of identification, we need to optimize features of the natural surrounding context. Natural features include some of the following elements: varied topographies, which gives us an opportunity to introduce levels into our buildings, where a soft topography is present, and to frame views. This is a typical site in Elspruit, for instance, where you have to remove some rock, and then when some rock is removed and the building level drops, it gives you the opportunity to create a wine cellar beneath the swimming pool, for instance. And it came out quite nice. I love plants as much as I love wine. So I think it's also a good habit to introduce or to celebrate natural features where possible. So with this vandal wall, for instance, could have been a very hard, solid wall, but by softening it and creating these curves, we allowed for planter pockets, which celebrates plants. And when you have a tree and clients that don't want to cut any branches, you can help the tree out. And I still think we need to design a little flask holder for champagne glasses over this bar bath. We can also take various inspiration from nature for architectural elements. Another natural feature is lighting. Natural lighting is also such a valuable gift from nature. And we have a lot of it in South Africa, approximately 2,500 hours of sunshine a year. And it's for free, so we might as well use it. It's not only great for introducing brightness into space, but also to be able to control heat in winter and summer in buildings. Natural ventilation is an incredible asset to any building, which not only adds to the energy efficiency of the building, but adds value to a healthy living environment. It's a reflection of how the building responds to its surrounding climate conditions. This corridor, for instance, can be ventilated and then the air flows through to the rooms. But then you can also have the option to close the louvers and to isolate the rooms if you close the glass doors. Nature provides us with the picture. We have the opportunity to frame it and allow the building to be in dialogue with the landscape. Natural resource materiality talks to sustainable, responsible selection of surrounding building materials and landscape features. It allows the colors and morphology of the building to merge with the landscape. The advantages of interacting with and seeing nature are numerous. Beyond technical benefits, feeling the presence of the living world around us elevates the spirit. These advantages have been highlighted in detail for the typographies such as schools, hospitals, workplaces, homes, and cities. This was a Burma design and could also not resist introducing some planters in there. Design has the power to transform awareness. By celebrating nature in its various forms in our South African buildings, we have the opportunity to ground spaces and hopefully people in place. And that was it. Thank you all for listening.
There we are, Janri. That went very well, despite the technical glitch. We heard you clearly, both your visual, your audio, and the message through your visuals. Thank you so much for that. I was not sure what to expect, but that was lovely. Yeah, I think you've actually answered many of the questions that I was going to be asking you, Janri. Just maybe just a comment to get the ball rolling. Those beautiful natural photographs that you took, that you showed us, the photographer, were you the photographer of some of those pictures?
Yes, Eugene, there was one or two I had to download from the internet, but the rest was me.
Yes, and that just goes to show, so you've actually seen those scenes, and you have an eye for natural beauty. So I understand your passion regarding nature. We've seen some of the work that you're doing, Janri. So would you say that you are consciously developing sort of an architectural language with a more organic approach, a more natural approach, and how do your clients respond to that when you engage with them?
Thank you, Eugene. Yes, I think definitely my architectural style is developing into a more organic approach or sustainable. I think these days everyone is considering sustainable options for buildings. But yeah, and so in Nelspruit, it was quite an adaptation to move from the Northern Cape, and I studied in the Free State where everything is flat, moving to Nelspruit where you have a big rock on every stand, or like I haven't seen a level stand in Nelspruit. And usually the people actually embrace it. They want to feature the rock. Some of them even want it in their homes. So for us to design, it's challenging at times to get the orientation correct, and then keeping in mind the costs for buildings onto rocks. But overall, I think it's developing in a positive way.
Janri, just to comment, I see that in most of your designs you actually incorporate the 5 elements of nature, which is what, you know, is the most important, because the 5 elements of nature, which is earth, water, fire, air, and space. And you, in your designs, are capturing all of those. You're very conscious of the air, movement of the air. You're very conscious of the light, the shadows of the light. You bring water in, the biophilia and everything, which is actually, I think, very honourable and really definitely helps to make a better design. And I think the advantage as well is that it looks like you're able to do projects that are in environments that embrace that. I think many architects are restricted to quite cold environments in city centres, and it becomes very difficult. But I think you're very fortunate in terms of where you're working. What types of projects do you actually currently work on?
Gillian, currently so I work for Orbic Architects in Nelspruit, and we do a lot of commercial, but actually a lot of residential, more residential these days. But our big projects are commercial. or institutional. We did the High Court in Nelspruit, and currently busy with the fresh produce market, which is quite a big project here as well. And then the additional houses, or well, additions to houses, like bomas, like this one, for instance. So we actually do anything.
Janri, looking at what you've been showing us just reminded me of two things. If I think back now, and you come from the Northern Cape, and there's a program. I don't know how many of our members have watched it. I think it's on, what's it, on Netflix? It's called Klein Jan, if I'm not mistaken, and it's about this restaurant that was developed, was developed over the past few years, right in the middle of the Kalahari, and that one map of South Africa that you showed us just made me realize that how appropriate one can be, or how creative you can be in the various different environments in which we work. And if I'm not quite through with the program yet, but they've built much of the restaurant under the sand in the Kalahari. You see very little of the actual building. So that was just a comment on the one hand. And then the other comment that you made regarding natural light. And I can remember traveling in Finland many years ago, and where light is so scarce that, I mean, we know that much of the Finnish work and Scandinavian work entails the use of maximum planes of glass just to absorb and bring in the little light that they've got. So you said that we have an abundance of natural light, and so I'm just wondering if you think back of the work you've been doing over the past few years, has that been a conscious effort to use the natural light, and how have you affected that in the work that you do?
Well, okay, first of all, I did also watch Jan, or Klein Jan. It's quite amazing what they did with that building. It's very sensitive towards the site, and I think actually all architects should watch that show. But to respond to your lighting comments, I must be honest with you, initially, when you start as an architect, there's a lot to take in and a lot to consider. And then as you progress with your designs, and as you actually walk on the site while they are building and walk into a room that's still got raw bricks and it's dark, and then as soon as you have a small window opening and you walk in there, and suddenly then you realize how important it is to actually have maximum window openings where possible. Obviously, have to consider orientation, but that's definitely something that has been developing throughout the designs.
Thanks, Janri. Gillian, any last comment from your side?
No, Eugene, just I'm very pleased to see, Janri, thank you, some beautiful drawings again, hand drawings. I think it's really something we should all spend more time doing and spend less time letting the computer do it for us. But thank you very much for sharing that beautiful work with us, and we look forward to hearing more from you in the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Gillian. Thank you, Janri. And once again, thank you to, well, Heather and Janri. On behalf of everyone who's watching, it takes a lot of time and effort to prepare these presentations, and I'm sure that that you will join me in thanking our two presenters. And once again, I just want to thank Duravit for their sponsorship. It does help us to cover the costs in bringing these presentations to you. Right, as far as CPD points are concerned, I think that Corina did mention in her intro that it has been decided to make Category 1 certificates available for SAIAshare events. The events remain free of charge, and you are entitled automatically to your Category 3 certificates. But for those of you who would like to have a Category 1 certificate, please, as advertised on the screen, for the by paying a 50 Rand administrative fee, you will receive your Category 1 certificate. And I think I said it in one of the first events. By attending 10 events throughout the year, you will cover all the CPD1 category, CPD1 points that you need to remain registered. So please do be encouraged to attend these events. Then, as far as previous presentations are concerned, we will soon publish a list of all previous events. All previous webinars can be accessed at this stage free of charge on the eCPD portal and on SAIA's portal. So please help yourselves to what has already been presented. And then you can prepare or register for the November event. And can I say it's going to be quite an event. It's happening on what we will remember as Guy Fawkes Day. So it will be quite an explosive event. Ruud van Deventer is going to be sharing with us on a very, very important topic. You know, I just looked at his topic and I realized how attractive it sounds. The asset every architect has in their building documentation, and how to turn this into another revenue stream. And don't we all need another revenue stream? And you will see from Ruud's CV, he's eminently equipped to talk on the subject. He has been involved in that BIM use environment for many, many years, starting off with First National Bank initially, and Ruud is at the cutting edge of using BIM and spatial information to the benefit of architects and clients. So you will be you will be exposed to that by joining us for the next event. And then we have the privilege of welcoming Tanzim Razak. Tanzim runs a very dynamic practice called Lemon Pebble Architects in Johannesburg. She studied at Wits, as you can see, and she graduated cum laude in Belgium, where she did postgraduate studies. And she will be addressing the topic defend or include the dichotomy of our city. And so much happens in our cities that we will do well to attend the event. So colleagues, all of you, I just want to say thank you very, very much for attending this afternoon. If it weren't for your attendance, obviously this series or this program would not exist. We do run the program on the first Friday of every month, and we try and balance it with something a bit more technical and something more visual. And if you have any comments or any suggestions, please put them into the chat box and we'll be happy to look at them. So you keep well, and until we meet again on the 5th of November, Guy Fawkes Day, all the best. SAIA greetings. See you next month.